I believe you're going to learn something about developing yourself. Sawa sawa? Are we together? So kindly, let's put our hands together as we welcome the speaker of the day, none other than Reverend Moses Ngetich, the campus pastor of Deliverance Church, Kangudo Road Campus. Karibu sana pastor.
What I'm about to teach today is just not, it's one of my favorite topics. Becoming someone's answered prayer, or developing yourself to become someone's answered prayer. But much as we are going to be discussing what Alex has given us as a topic, I want you to know that it applies across the board. So if you're in business, it applies. If you're in a career direction, it's applying. If you are neither here nor there, it also applies. Sawa sawa. Sawa sawa. When it comes to matters relationships, there is a word that I don't like. I mean, I can't miss mentioning. There's a word called value. There's a word called value that determines the purchasing power of that commodity. And people will always take you at your own estimate. If you sell yourself cheap, you will be bought cheaply. If you package yourself in an expensive way, you will attract the market that deserves the packaging. So I'll be alluding to some of those concepts here and there. And I know God is going to bless us. Isaiah 54, everything that I talk about has got to have a biblical foundation. So we have to derive our concept of relationship and also handling life through the Bible. In 1492, there's a guy called Christopher Columbus. Anybody who has ever heard about Christopher Columbus? Wase wa reggae, he never won. Christopher Columbus in Italy. Wase wa Bobo Shante, wacheni kunilenga. So this guy is said to have been the one who discovered the New World, which we commonly refer to as today as America. But in that particular world, there existed people. So when this guy journeyed and landed himself in that environment, what he started discovering was not something new, because there's nothing new under the sun. So it existed before. But then the question is, how comes the natives had not yet discovered it? And hence the question, are you waiting to be discovered or you discover yourself? Are you waiting to be discovered by the discoverer? And what are the parameters that will determine that discovery? It's a question we need to answer in our discussion today. So it says this in Isaiah 54 and verse 2. Enlarge the place of your tent. If you're writing notes, the word you pick is enlargement. All right? And then if you're a Bible student, you look at what enlargement is referring to. Then there is the word, your tent. Then it says, let them stretch out. So you pick the word stretch. And then it says, the curtains of your dwellings. That means there's an environment that needs to be stretched. Then it says, do not spare. Do not spare. Then there's another word that comes out there. Lengthen your cords. Lengthen. So there is lengthening, then there is the cords. Then it says, strengthen your stakes. Strengthen your stakes. Have you ever had this question, a lot is at stake? Huh? A lot is at stake. So this lot that is at stake is what we want to navigate through. Because the average understanding is that there is this one who wants to go date, there is this one who wants to be dated, there is this one who wants to get married, there is this one who wants to marry. Let's discuss the parameters that will make this thing possible. Let's settle the basics. I am fearfully and wonderfully made is not enough. All right? Amma? Come on, let's prosecute these matters. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That has got its own category. I know what I want is another category. But then, what qualifies all these things to work together in such a way that it will narrow down to one word, value? What am I going for? In other words, what am I being discovered for? What is the value that is worth discovery? There are words that I'll use, about 5 of them, that has got an end to it. End. So the first one is extend. Andika your word, extend. So extension, number 1, let's first of all put ourselves on a place of a consistent growth and development. What are the parameters of development? Where do you develop? There are about 6 areas that if you ignore these 6 areas, you are done. And if you work on one area and ignore another, you will call what you'd call a malfunction. Either you'll be sick or stagnating, or you will have what you'd call stunted growth. Not exponential, stunted. The first one is, 1, develop your spirituality. We keep saying this, I know it's repetition, but repetition is for the purpose of retention. Paul says, for me to tell you the same things all over and again is not offensive. So the first one, develop your spiritual life, because that is where permanency is. With spirituality, there is accuracy. And then determine what diet do you use to grow your spiritual life in terms of your spiritual muscles. So there is, of course, the basics ones. There is the prayer, there is the word, the word content, there is the fellowship, and then there is the service. So these 4 things are the ones that controls your spiritual health. Prayer, because if your prayer life is dead, your life is just on an ICU. It's a matter of time before you see it. And the major thing that the enemy will always target in any life, for it to devalue that life, is target the place of prayer. Because it's in the place of prayer that spiritual configurations happen. This is where accuracy and precision is. Am I making some sense? Huh? With the word, it gives you what you'd call the light and direction. Your word is a lamp. So if you don't find direction, it means your level of consumption of the word is at its low. So if you are confused, the word is confused in your system. It means there is no word level. So check that. And then there is the fellowship. This is now where there is the aspect of interaction. And then there is the place of service, demonstration, actualization of what you really stand for. So that one is settled. Develop your spiritual life. Number 2, develop your competence. Develop your competence. Because many people want to be very mediocre. Because these are the bargaining tools. If you sit with someone and you have not developed your competence, what are you good at? Besides just being beautiful and handsome, what are you good at? On a natural scale, there are those natural abilities. Are you working to improve and put it on a place whereby it gains a competitive advantage? Whereby, if you are to place it in a market, who will go for it? With competence comes something called skill. If you don't develop your skill, honestly speaking, there is someone who has the same skill but sharpened. So don't allow your competence to be blunt. I wouldn't have come to talk to you if I had not prepared. Believe me, I would have given an apology. I'm not coming. But next time when I give an apology, it's not that I'm not prepared. Let me put a disclaimer. I wouldn't. So with that competence and skill set, now find out where is it needed. Where is that skill needed? So that you place it on the path of relevance. If you don't place it on the path of relevance, you will be a lawyer bringing in a skill that is not needed. Maybe people are sick, they need a doctor. They don't need an argument, they need a doctor. So place your skill and your competence on the path of relevance. Am I making some sense? Huh? So develop your spirituality, develop your competence, your skill, put it on a path of relevance. All right? Are we together? Are we together? Then there is this word that people ignore. Degree or no degree. Please, check on your library. Check on your library. If your library is bankrupt, it has got more shoes and more shirts, more clothes than the books. I'm telling you, what you're doing to yourself is you're paralyzing your understanding. How do you paralyze your understanding? Daniel chapter number 9. Is that my proper? Chapter 9 says, I, Daniel, chapter 9, verse 2. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by the books. Understood by the books. So you will paralyze your understanding when you ignore the health of your library. This is now what we call personal development and self-improvement. Never give an excuse that you have not gone to school or you didn't have an opportunity to go to school. For 4 years after high school, my parents had lost their job, so there was no money to take me to college. For 4 years. What do you do for 4 years? That is when I had all my concordances, my annotated references, all my Bibles there. I had books upon books upon books. Na si hizi vitabu za saizi, za kina Joel Osteen, sio hizo, za kumassage your ego, not those ones. Talking about real books zenye ukisoma hivi unasikia, hey, something hits your head. Upon books, I read every book about law, management, leadership, spirituality, all. This is the reason why I was once challenged. If you have a congregation and you have got doctors there, what will you tell them? If you have got lawyers there, what will you tell them? You have got a package of an array of engineers, what will you tell them? And that's why I want to ask you, if you are to date someone who is not of your career, what will you tell them? Let's argue now in English. What will you tell them? You realize that after 15, 20 minutes of a conversation, the content of that discussion is either diluted or gone. So the next thing you'll start discussing Nganya, Matri, Simu, and stuff like that. The latest apps, selfies. Because there is no meat in that discussion. You can't discuss fuel prices. I'll keep saying this until you get what I'm saying. Because if you don't get to that level whereby you extend your thinking pattern, your thinking, by the way, my biggest worry in life is when I'll stop thinking. Now that's my biggest worry. Because when I read another script, the same Daniel, there is this guy called Nebuchadnezzar, that his reason was withdrawn and suspended. He started eating grass. And then he makes a confession, when my reason was returned, that is when he became human. I'm like, so there's a possibility that someone's reason can be suspended. How do you know? When you find someone who is potentially endowed with certain competence and capacity to become more than what they are behaving like, then you know the reason of this individual has been withdrawn. So you have to consistently put yourself where you are extending and expanding. If you are not expanding, honestly speaking, you are stagnating. And this is where now you gain value. You become an answered, a preferred. There is something called preferred future, because a vision gives you a preferred future. When you have a vision, it gives you a preferred future, because you have already seen it now. You are scripting it. This is what I want to become. This is what I want to become. I told you the other time, if you put yourself on the path whereby you're heading a certain direction that is focused, you will find someone who is suitable going along that direction. But if you have got no direction, you're going nowhere. Then you will find someone also who is also not going anywhere. They will entertain you there. Before long, you are a casualty of someone else's stagnation, extension. Discover your new self. Because there are people, if I tell you you have got these capabilities, you'll ask me, how do you know? Because many of us know more about others than we know about ourselves. Unfortunately so. We know more about others than we know about ourselves. Take an average young people, a group of them. Talk about football, for example. They'll give you facts about the footballers, including their shoe sizes. Including, they even know the relatives of the footballers. They know which relationship never worked for them. They know, they have it to the details. Now bring them. Let's have a discussion about you. Tell me about you. They don't know about themselves. They are still in this mode called, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The whole point is, you have to migrate from this point of doing all things to the point where you say, one thing I desire, this one thing I will seek. Are we together? Am I insulting your pedigree? There has to be that extension whereby you grow beyond your own limits. Useme, by the way, there's this common analogy. There's the square peg that you put it on the ground, tie a donkey, and then leave it there. The donkey will eat a certain circumference, isn't it? To the length of the cord that is holding the whatever. You untie that, the donkey will never leave, because it has pre-programmed itself never to go beyond the boundary and the circumference that it has been. Is it also possible that the danger of us is that we believe Eden was the ultimate? So we were placed in Eden. I agree. And you're supposed to flourish within Eden. But are you aware that if you don't move out of Eden, you can't progress in life? Because Eden was not a location, physical. It was a spiritual experience. But then we have made it a locality. Take me back to the Eden. Take me back to the Eden. So do we take Jesus back to Gethsemane? It's a location physically. But do we domicile him there? That was an experience. If you want to become a real answer to someone's life, sit down and list all your areas that are wanting. All of it. And please be honest with yourself. Kweli kabisa, I am wanting in this area. I am limited in this area. I'm dysfunctional in this area. As you may to the point of even listing the places like financial areas. List them. And then intentionally develop either a curriculum or you develop a diet that will feed into these areas to develop this competence. If you don't x-ray it that way, high chances are you will be operating in a fluke. At some point you are high, at some point you are low. At some point you are not existing, at some point you are alive. So if you don't create a constant of consistent development, mentally, socially, financially, relationally, because there are some people, and I'll say this, interact freely, but relate selectively. So associate with as many as possible so that you get to increase your capacity of knowing different personalities. But many people want to specialize based on an item, uliona mtu na kitu fulani. So, hata mimi napendanga hiyo. Oh, unapendanga hiyo. So, unanilike na kulike. So, tunalike ya. But you haven't realized that it is beyond this one thing. Life has got variations. You take this guy, one of these fine days, I'll ask Alex, we go and have this meeting somewhere in Karen. Change of environment. See how people are malfunctional because of change of environment. They can't seem to think or see. They are not themselves. And this is the pain that I keep seeing, and especially in this side of the city. If you take a bunch of individuals in a place of greatness, put people who are serious entrepreneurs, serious leaders, serious career people, people who are established, the language alone of handling these people fizzles out. So your English is limited. Your vocabulary is limited. Why? We have domiciled that in Islands. At some point, you have to extend. I keep asking myself, this is what I challenge myself with. If today I'm asked to talk to leaders that John Maxwell is talking to, what will I tell those leaders? If I'm asked today to speak to people who Miles Munro is talking to, what will I tell them? And hence, the similar question I pose. If you are to date someone who is of a higher scale in life, seriously high scale in life, will you match up? Or there will be a mismatch? Variations. So nilikuwa nasema, you understand what I'm saying? No, I don't understand. You haven't said anything. As in, anyway, tukoma as in, you know, yeah. Sorry, pardon? Extension. Have this desire to just extend. Please, just have this desire to extend your area of operation. Grow beyond your limits. And after this, go and list all your limitations. And don't be afraid, just list them. Enye hapa nina ujinga. I am lazy. I am dysfunctional in handling relationships. And this particular one, this one called relationships. And when I say relationship, I'm not talking about you, the one you're dating. I'm talking about relationships that in the event you are in a big problem, there is a huge, huge contingency of relationship that can bail you out. Because relationships are capital. I live on relationships. Just beyond my competence, I live on relationships. Right now, I can send 5 of you to Mombasa. You will have accommodation, you will have food, you will be taken care of, you will swim, and you will be transported back out of relationships. Same, I can take you to Kisumu, same experience. I can take you to Nyeri, same experience, because I value relationships. Between Nairobi, all the way to Busia, I have relationships. And not small relationships, very serious relationships. People I can call and they will wake up in the middle of the night to come to my rescue. Question, who are your friends? I'm asking a very genuine question because if you don't build on this, we will have a problem. We will have a problem. That is now what you develop, value to become an answered prayer for someone. What are you coming with in this relationship? Are you a consumer or a producer? I wish I can talk about consumerism whole day, can talk about producer whole day. In this relationship, are you a consumer or? Bwana asifiwe sana. Are we still friends? Tell your neighbor extend. Tell your neighbor extend. Build your stamina to accommodate more. Build your stamina to accommodate more. Please. Please. I asked a question. And I want to still ask the same question from a very genuine. If today you get a minute or 2 or 5 minutes, karibuni, if you got 5 minutes with the president, what will you tell the president? What will you tell the president? Will you be a part of those who are discovering names like Rigiji? And you earn a career out of that. 5 years down the line, you're not sure whether you're still... Well, yes, it can be an entry point, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble because you have not developed what you would call an embodiment that can hold what you have gotten as an opportunity. That is why sometimes opportunity is not strategy. Relationships extend beyond your current. In fact, after this, go and audit your relationships. Put all your relationships in the sense of these 2 categories. Are these friends consumers? Are these friends producers? This one will keep you at a loss consistently. You will be either funding the habit of consumption or it's a matter of time before you are consumed yourself. Your guess is as good as mine. On production, list all your friends that genuinely generate the capital that makes both of you symbiotic in that relationship. Lest it becomes parasitic. Consumers are parasitic in nature. The danger of parasitism is this. You will find a tick that is stuck in a cow. The cow can die and the tick will stick, not knowing that the source of its livelihood is dead. What will you do? Can we go to the second one? Or you're still stuck at the first one? The second one, because of time, the second one, after extend, contend. There's something called contention. Contention. This is where we miss it out. Contention is as you start to pipe yourself in the journey towards influence, impact, results, multiplication, fruitfulness. Believe you me, you will attract what you'd call opposition. You will attract opposition. And if you haven't attracted any opposition so far, you are still on the consumerism. So you are arguing over consumers. But if you get yourself in the production, now you get to put yourself on what you'd call a platform of bargain. In this, let's leave now the consumers. Let's stick on this line alone, producers. This line, you will have opposition. And if you haven't managed yourself in a... That's why he's saying, if your library is unhealthy, you will not have the skill set to manage this opposition. So it will bring to you negative energy. So on this particular stage, master the art of managing your opposition. Master that art of managing your opposition. Not every battle is for you to respond to. Not every battle is for you to respond to. And when it comes to conflict resolution in a relationship or in a platform where you are handling issues, let the issues you are handling be at least above the line. In the business world, there is what you can handle below the line. Below the line, ile mabiashara za wekelea toa ishaiva. But there are other businesses that you can handle that you will invoice and wait for 90 days for payment. There is that. If you have not developed capacity to contend for the season of dryness, what happens is you will sink while waiting for help. So in contention, contend to explore new challenges. Because in contention, you get yourself in newer challenges. And this is a problem. If you sit around people where you are discussing the same old, and I'll ask you, let me invite you to another journey of audit. Another journey of audit. Take yourself back to 2022, January. Look at all the issues that you went through in the year 2022. We are in April. If you find yourself going through the same issues, sadly so, in 2023, there is something wrong in that equation. Either there is an underlying operating system that is delivering that strain on a consistent basis. So that in the strain of yesterday, if you have the same strain today, it means the problem has not yet been sorted from the root. So you are a victim of repeated cycles and repeated patterns because you have not known the art of contending for your space. If you have to contend for something now, be ready to be a force, not just a voice. I have a problem when you are a voice. That is for the basic commoners who are looking for cheap publicity. When you are just a voice, then you know he's trying to say something. But when you become a force, now people can't do without you. Then you know you have cut a niche for yourself. That's now contending for a space. There are barriers in that particular journey. And these barriers are not the normal barriers that we are used to. Cultural biases, traditional, because the Bible says men have made the word of God of no effect because of their traditions. All right? So the traditions of men makes the word of no effect. I'm not talking about those cultural barriers, the traditions. I'm not talking about the normal sociological vibes that we are used to. Let's deal first of all with emotional. There is an emotional contention that generates passion or brings you to a place of demoralization. So if you are in a relationship in this sense, that you ought to be generating positive energy that drives this thing forward. If you are not fixed emotionally, go get this book called Emotional Intelligence. If you are not fixed emotionally, you will have what we call outbursts of emotions. So they are all mismanaged emotions. At some point, your temperature is high. At some point, your temperature is low. At some point, you have never developed an art. And this is where you need to learn something from PR. Is it PR? Or customer relations? Yeah, client relation. With the client relation, you're told the customer is always, even when they're absolutely wrong. But then, here is what the client relation or client service executive is trained. Manage the emotions. Manage the emotions. The customer is breaking loose. Hell is it's about to go down. You can actually lose your job. But how you stabilize that ship, that's what I'm talking about. So the relationship is on fire. Do you also get yourself, you erupt? Basi, whenever you see people insult one another in a relationship, I'll tell you, they are children. They are not ready for a relationship. They should pack their bags and leave. Because if they get married, emotionally. Second one is intellectually. The reason why I'm insisting, get your library more healthy at home. Get your library intact. It will feed your intellect to cause and repeated patterns because you have not known the art of contending for your space. If you have to contend for something now, be ready to be a force, not just a voice. I have a problem when you are a voice. That is for the basic commoners who are looking for cheap publicity. When you are just a voice, then you know he's trying to say something. But when you become a force, now people can do without you. Then you know you have cut a niche for yourself. That's now contending for a space. There are barriers in that particular journey. And these barriers are not the normal barriers that we are used to. Cultural biases, traditional, because the Bible says men have made the word of God of no effect because of their traditions. All right? So the traditions of men makes the word of no effect. I'm not talking about those cultural barriers, the traditions. I'm not talking about the normal sociological vibes that we are used to. Let's deal first of all with emotional. There is an emotional contention that generates passion or brings you to a place of demoralization. So if you are in a relationship in this sense, that you ought to be generating positive energy that drives this thing forward. If you are not fixed emotionally, go get this book called Emotional Intelligence. If you are not fixed emotionally, you will have what we call outbursts of emotions. So they are all mismanaged emotions. At some point, your temperature is high. At some point, your temperature is low. At some point, you have never developed an art. And this is where you need to learn something from PR. Is it PR? Or customer relations, client relation. With the client relation, you're told the customer is always, even when they are absolutely wrong. But then, here is what the client relation or client service executive is trained. Manage the emotions. Manage the emotions. The customer is breaking loose. Hell is it's about to go down. You can actually lose your job. But how you stabilize that ship, that's what I'm talking about. So the relationship is on fire. Do you also get yourself, you erupt? Basi, whenever you see people insult one another in a relationship, I'll tell you, they are children. They are not ready for a relationship. They should pack their bags and leave. Because if they get married, emotionally. Second one is intellectually. The reason why I'm insisting, get your library more healthy at home. Get your library intact. It will feed your intellect to know how to handle issues. Because there are issues that will require intellectual response. So of learning, you get to know how to handle personality differences. Otherwise, the deficiency of this will expose what tribes have taught us. So when someone is gloomy, you know, kiona Meru amenyamaza, the next thing, chunga. Kiona Mkisi ndio huyo, the next thing. So it assumes those shapes. Tambua, pikia tu Mluya, akishiba ko sawa. Sadly, so I'm a Kenyan, you're taking me nowhere. I know what I'm saying. And they'll tell you to manage the laziness of the Coastarians. Yes, saa 3 saa 4, ana haraka ya kupika breakfast. Because breakfast ni kushikanisha lunch. Ita go down jioni. Intellectually, please develop. I'm a student of multicultural, whatever. Study several cultures. Don't just get dating someone whom you have not even studied and done a background check of where they are coming from. And our parents will keep asking, huyu nani anatoka wapi? Sometimes it's not what they are vilifying as the individual. They want to associate that individual with their background. So if you have not done a background check to realize, hapa kuna lineage ya hawa, say, wengine wao walikuwa wachawi, wengine wao walikuwa, so that you explain some of the dysfunctions that you will have in life spiritually with that. You can only detect that spiritually. Ama labda wanapigangwa na kifafa, wewe hujui. Umeshaolewa, mtu anakufanga akiamka, you don't know. You need to have that. Ndio ujue akipiga sama ako tu sawa. Ako tu sawa, mwagie maji baridi ataamka tu. These things you have to detect them. And you are not wrong to ask, is there hereditary diseases in your lineage? Ama labda kuna upungufu saa zingine wa mawazo. The next one is ideological. We have people who are idealists. Kila kitu tunia. Their idea mind, they like have an idea workshop. They have so many ideas. Idealist. Sit down with this individual and be, okay, step one, how do we actualize this one idea to fruition? Unajua, they bring another idea to cover for the first idea. Before long, a third idea is on the table. Because they're operating from this zone. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That is the mother of confusion. If you haven't dealt with those internal barriers, emotional, intellectual, ideological, it will paralyze another set of three things. The first thing is it will affect your purpose. It will affect your purpose. May not be in my notes. It will affect your purpose. It will affect your thought process. Your thought process. It will affect your action. Execution. Are we learning something? Are we learning something? With these three things, there is something called attitudes that emanates from emotions. So when you see someone moody, you think they're attitudious. When you see someone warm, you think that's their attitude. With attitude, sometimes it's not in their appearance. Attitude is the technology for response in crisis. What is your attitude towards life when things are not working? What is your attitude towards life when things are working? Because when they have money, they are very happy. When they have got no money, ande aliyekaita kataka hapa inaanza tu na kelele kwa mlango. Ni kelele tu, unajua ukisikia kelele hakuna pesa. So you know it's an intimidation tool. Contention is very serious. It's an intimidation tool so that you don't ask for tokens because ushakuwa intimidated already. Attitudes. With attitudes, the next one is now ideas. And the third one is practices, which is action. Are we still learning? Do you go to the third one? The third one is a blessing, by the way. I like it. The third one is a blessing. Amend. After extend, contend, amend. For you to consistently increase value, put yourself on a place of evaluation so that you make changes as and when the tide is changing. When the weather is changing, don't put on summer clothes when cold is coming. Ama? Unfortunately, again, When people don't amend their journey, they become rigid. So this word flexibility is a foreign word. If you ask them, juzi tumepikiwa njahe. Mi sipendi njahe. Have you ever eaten it? No. And you're like, how do you hate what you have never eaten? Have you tried it? No. Something is happening. Let's say there is a meeting for great people, great minds brooding together and stuff. I'm going for that function. Utaenda? Mi siendi. Kwa nini? Attitude. Because this person does not want to make amendments even when reason is provoking that you should amend. Let me tell you something. Humility is when you realize that there is help that you need and you adjust to that help regardless of who is offering that help. Because sometimes we bastardize the help that we so need because of the package it has come with. When it has to do with amendment, modify your fruit to suit your eaters. Now, I told you this will apply both in business and modify your fruit to be relevant to the one who consumes it. Here in Kenya, we produce quite an array of products. Ebu angalia kitu inaitwa miyonga. Just Google miyonga, pull out the packaging. I think I got it right, yeah. If you have a product, there is how you package a product to suit a buyer in Umoja 2. Because there is a certain packaging that if a person in Umoja 2 looks at that package, the psyche in them will tell them it is expensive. Yet, it is not expensive. It's just the packaging. Umeiona? Eh? Pull in the package. I want to show you something about this. Here in Kenya, we produce quite an array of products. There is that product which is only useful for the local market. The local market cannot be harsh on that product because they want that product. So they will scale down their standards to accommodate the product's packaging. But then there's another market. If we are exporting our coffee, for example, our coffee can be packaged here in Kenya that you can ignore other limitations to get that product here in Kenya. But elsewhere, that packaging is very important, extremely important, to the point it can be rejected based on the packaging. And so, if your world has pre-programmed culture, taste, and traditions, make yourself tasty and flavored. That's what we call value. Make yourself needed and lovable. Bwana asifiwe sana watu wa Mungu. Bwana asifiwe sana watu wa Mungu. Watu wa Mungu Bwana asifiwe sana. You see, cleanliness is not a suggestion when it comes to relationships. Cleanliness. Just be clean. 90% of your bonga points are intact. Kwa usafi tu, brush your teeth, check your socks, check your nails. Ladies, Bwana asifiwe sana. Come. I know many people will be watching this. We will put this. If you have bad nails, she's your doctor. If you have bad nails, here is your doctor. Here's your plug. Bwana asifiwe sana. Now you're feeling bad. Both men and ladies. Men, if your nails are terrible, when you go to a bash, you can't remove your shoes. So ingendani afana niko tu sawa hapa. Let's clap for her. It's important. It's important to go to where you can get help. The problem is we hardly don't want to make amendments because of who is having the solution. Look at that. This is dried fruits. They are dried. They are dried here in Malindi. The lady who does this is a member of our church. This one. She discovered a niche that when you export fruits, zingine, by the time they arrive in Europe or Middle East, they have reached their sell-by date. Some are overripe, some cannot be, and they just, have you ever seen these apples that we buy here in Mtindwa? Those apples. I'm sorry to carry the sad news. They are rejects. They didn't gain the standard required for export. In my years of hustling, I used to package these avocados that goes to Europe. And those ones that have got spots in them, the ones that you say Indio Poa, those ones are the ones we rejected. So when you buy them here, you feel, zile ndo zinakuwaga poa. They are rejected. So this lady discovered that packaging this like this product like this may be useful. This was when she was packaging mishiri. What is mishiri? French beans. That is the package she used to have. Now, if we were to package you as a boyfriend to go to Europe and as a girlfriend to go and date a Muzungu, let's talk. What are we likely to find? What are we likely to find? Are you getting what I'm saying? I hope in my examples, don't lose my. In short, be relevant, be fresh. Make amendments. Once you do your audit today and you see this is my deficiencies, please make amendments. If you've been sleeping for more than 8 hours, make amendments. If you've been watching TV more than, in fact, the first thing I will tell you to do is discard your TV. Achana na TV. Bwana asifiwe sana. Hey, Bwana asifiwe sana. Just move away from your TV a bit. If you still have the remote, there is something wrong with you. And it's a matter of time that you discover you'll have lost 15 years glued to a screen that is not giving you money. You are watching people making money at the expense of your idleness. Footballers. Amend. Make amendment. Did I just insult you or I said it? The fourth one, we are almost done. We are almost done. The fourth one is transcend. This one you may need to work on this, by the way. This you have to work on this one. Transcend. With transcending, rise above the challenges that come your way. Many of us have never worked on a formula that consistently energizes you. And this is exposed when challenges come. Challenges will come along the way. And the only thing that will rescue you is your preparedness based on your understanding and know-how. So if you have not worked on your library again, personal development, it will be exposed in crisis. It will be exposed in crisis. We are in number 4. Rise above the challenges that come before you. Surpass the existing systems that put obstacles in your path. That's a very key one. Very key one. Surpass the existing systems that put obstacles in your path. Because if you don't amend, you will not blend. And this is where now, whenever the spinner is rotating, it can spin you off balance. It is said that proximity is not assimilation. You can be near solutions, near greatness, near people who are of great value. But that does not mean you are the one who is valuable. You are just close by. Unajua utasikia joto ukikaribia moto. Lakini wewe si moto. I know you may think you're hot. Think again. Think again. Think again. Transcend. Rise above the challenges that come before you. Surpass the existing systems that put obstacles your path. Along that, amend so that you blend. Learn the art. This is now to the businessmen again, and also those of you who are dating, or those who are aspirants that you'd want to be dated at some point. Work on your art of appeal. Don't be an irritation at the first instance. And this is where the matter of discretion ought to be. You can't be around people and you are just talking all of a sudden. Oh, you are erupting, laughing carelessly. Who told you people are looking for your teeth? When you go before people, just maintain your cool. Relax. So that you get to know the temperature of every individual. There are those who hate noise, and you could be an irritation with your laughter. And by the way, the empty debes makes the most noise. So some of the indicators that shows and exposes people, just watch. If you see loudness, emptiness is inevitable. Doesn't the Bible says where there are many words, sin is not absent? Sin in the context not of morality, but missing the mark. Innovate ways to be unaffected by your environment. A big concept that I've loved personally. Whenever you find yourself in a problem, in a crisis, in a situation, first of all, this is the problem. Remove yourself from the problem, then look at it externally, and especially from a bird's eye view. Because if you are in the hole and you're still digging, you will sink. And you will not help yourself. So transcending means you pull yourself out of the problem, then look at it from an external approach. 3D approach. All angles. Look at it. This relationship, this man, this woman. Now, it is not me. What can I do to make this man better? What can I do to make this woman better? What can I do to make this individual more valuable and more palatable in this? If you don't do that, what will happen is you will start sinking and degenerating into self-pity. And this is where attention seekers find themselves. So if you find yourself telling this person the story, and then you go tell this one, you're not looking for a solution. Now you're attention seeking. Imagine. It's not an imagination, it's true. Don't stay in the boat when there is a higher power or a higher call to walk on water. Jesus, in the book of Matthew chapter 14, 22, 26, Jesus comes, finds these men in the boat, looks at them, and one maverick. Hey, master, is that you? If that is you, the rest are thinking is a ghost. But this other one is like, if that is you, bid me to come. And Jesus makes a general invitation. He never said, Peter, come. He just said, come. So whomever would have dared to step on that water would have walked. We concentrate on the Peter sinking, but at least he walked. It is recorded that he walked. Have you ever walked even in the water in the basin? I mean, the only water you have walked on is the one that you're stepping on a seawall. And finally, it is not just enough for you to extend. It's not just enough for you to contend. It's not enough for you to amend. It's not just enough for you to transcend. This one is the best one. Defend. Avoid unguarded strength. Men, women, avoid unguarded strength. Secure your territory. Put it under lock and key. Protect your advantage. Protect your advantage. Are you able to reproduce this same in another environment? Or you will malfunction in another environment? Are you able to duplicate the same results that you have shown today? If you can't, your advantage is unprotected. Your strength is unguarded. Don't lose your footing, because that is where your balance is. This is what you should guard jealously. Defend what you know. The Bible says, buy the truth and sell it not. Stop hawking what is seriously expensive. And sometimes you need to learn some of these disciplines in Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. The fruit of the Spirit. Many people think that I lose it when I talk about this. This is exactly what guards your advantage. Love, joy, peace, patience. These things, they guard it jealously. So that when you are impatient, you know, I'm almost losing it. Take yourself back. It is a fruit of the Spirit. Don't lose your footing. Defend your position. When I say defend your position, don't find yourself in a position of advantage and you can't retain it. The world is a world of competition. The world is a world of competition. Question: if you broke up today, are you easily replaceable? If you are easily replaceable and you can't find something wrong with that, your reason is suspended for some. I'm telling you with a lot of love. If you are easily replaced, easily like this, and someone can't feel a thing, it was good riddance. You know, there's a guy we want to encourage one time. His wife had died. Of course, he's dead. So when we went to encourage this guy, he said, hey, brethren, the God is a God of second chances. I'm like, what? What? He's been rescued. I'm telling you, it never took 6 months. That guy was married. 6 months. Defend your position. Defend your position. And I've given you the practical steps to do that. Defend your position. Make sure you are not easily replaceable. That is becoming an answer to someone else's prayer. Develop a technology that undergirds what you have brought forth. If you give birth to something, is it under lock and key? Can you get pregnant again and produce the same? Of course, this is not referring to biological pregnancy. This technology has got to be value-based. Let your legacy protect your... Are you aware that you can retire when you're young? But because of addiction to employment, sababu ya njaa. Sababu ya njaa. There is a life beyond the basic needs. Hear me. Lift your value to the point whereby basic needs are not your problem. Because if your basic needs are your problem, this is the manipulation stage. Whoever who has your basic needs will manipulate you. Am I insulting you? Defend your position. I think with those few remarks, I beg to close shop. Increase your value. See you at the top when you are not easily replaceable.
And now may the grace and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore.